We find ourselves in a situation here in Northern Ireland that we no longer have proper law and order. Um, I honestly do not know what is going on with our political leaders or with the leadership of the PSNI. Example, I've received numerous death threats and there's been numerous attacks, and now the police have admitted, yes, I am more likely going to be attacked, and yes, I am entitled to be able to protect myself, but because you do what you do and you say what you say, we're not going to give you a means to protect yourself. Now that's okay, that's the police, and well, it's not the ordinary police, it's up at Chief Constable level and Mr Goggins and Sean Woodward. Now I wouldn't mind so much, but Mr Goggins and Sean Woodward are the men who sign the forms for to give PPWs to IRA men. IRA men who have been charged with murder and convicted, some of them doing 14 years in prison, are now walking about this country with weapons that have been given to them by Her Majesty's government. One of them had a weapon within 3 days of asking for it. That's how fast they can fast track these weapons through for IRA men. They've now admitted that it is more than likely that I am going to be attacked, and yes, I have the right to protect myself. That has now been proven, that I do and should have a personal protection weapon, but we're not going to give it to you because we don't like, this is the wee bit they didn't put in, we don't like what you're doing. Well, tough. You may get used to it, because I will continue doing it. I, at the minute, am dealing with at least 20 odd members of the security forces at this particular time. That's not in the past, or perhaps what's coming forward, because we have had a phone call today from another man who have all been refused weapons, who are all past members of the security forces. Some of them doing 25 years in the police. Now that's bad enough that they've refused them their weapons. But here's the sick part of it. Within this last 2 months, some of them have received upwards of a dozen death threats. Some of them have been told by the police that there has been a serious attempt to try and kill them, only that they weren't in the right place. As far as the IRA was concerned, they weren't in the right place whenever they went to look for them. These men have been torn down for their weapons, torn down. One of these men has now left and went to Scotland, who served a long time in the security forces, protecting the community. He's now had to move out because he had to leave home 6 times. The man asked for his personal protection weapon back, which he'd give up 3 years ago. They refused to give it to him. They actually, a number of years ago, they ambushed him on his way home, and they fired a number of shots into his car, but thankfully he returned fire and he actually hit one of them. Now they're telling this man he hasn't the right to protect himself. This man, who lived in one of the worst parts of Northern Ireland, has now had to move out because of Mr Goggins and Mr Woodward and the Chief Constable, who will give weapons or PPWs to IRA men, but not give it to the men who protected the community. They should be ashamed of themselves. The police won't give them any protection on their homes. They won't give them any PPWs to protect themselves when they're out in the community. Why? Because they want them out of their areas. What the IRA could not do through 30 odd years of terrorism, the police is now helping them. And not so much even the police, but Mr Goggins and Mr Woodward are now helping the IRA to move men out of them areas. And that's the sort of future we have here in Northern Ireland. But we're not going to stand for it. And neither is these men going to stand for it. These people are now prepared to come forward and make themselves known. We'll take this to European courts. We'll take it to wherever we have to go to get the proper policing and security we need in this country. So Mr Goggins and Mr Woodward, when you're signing the letters, and one of them, an IRA man from Uri, was issued a PPW within 3 days of applying for it. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Yous are nothing but rogues and con men, that you're prepared to let the men who've paid a major price suffer and their families suffer the way they are, because you think that you can organise some political situation in Northern Ireland that will suit yourselves and the IRA. Well, you will find that people will not lie down and take it much longer. It is coming very close to a stage when people are getting sick to the back teeth of being treated like this. These are law-abiding citizens, but what you're doing is setting them up to be murdered. I accept what I'm doing. I choose to do what I'm doing. I know the consequences, and if anything happens to myself, my family and the people in the community know who is to blame. The Secretary of State, the Chief Constable and Mr Goggins. Never mind the man that pulls the trigger. He's only a scum. But them 3 men, if anything happens to any of these men and myself, them are the people to blame, and our politicians, because they've created this situation. So while they're out shooting, and let me make this clear as well, there's a number of shootings going on in this community that are not being told to the media. There's bombs being found, there's intimidation going on, there's smuggling going on. This country is awash with terrorist activity, and a lot of it is being covered up. So I'd ask the people to consider, is that what they want in their communities? This is mostly a border community, but if they get their way here, it will be the same in Portadown, in Banbridge, in Lisburn. Yous will be the areas to suffer next. Be under no illusion about that. Yous will be the areas that will suffer what we're going through at the minute. But we're not prepared to back down. And Mr Goggins and Mr Woodward can use all the nice words they want, but yous are no better than paid assassins. At the very least, we could say you're responsible for conspiring with the enemy of Ulster to try and rid it of the Protestant people, because that's exactly what yous are doing. You can put as much spin on it as you like, and you can tell all the lies you like, but the people living within the communities know only too well what's going on. So you should be ashamed of yourselves, and hopefully our politicians will waken up to what is going on.